All I want is somebody that's gonna love me for me. Somebody I can love for them. All this money don't mean shit. You ain't got nobody to share it with. Love rules the world. You feel me?
Sean Puff Daddy Combs, later known as Diddy, rose to fame as one of the most influential figures in hip-hop and the entertainment industry. He was not just a rapper or producer, but a mogul, an empire builder who helped shape the careers of artists like the notorious B.I.G. and Mace, and whose label, Bad Boy Records, became synonymous with success. But behind the glitz, glamour, and success was another, darker story, one filled with allegations of manipulation, abuse, and coercive control. These accusations, recently brought to light in shocking lawsuits and criminal charges, paint a troubling picture of a man whose narcissistic traits and predatory behaviors had devastating consequences for those around him. To understand the man behind the allegations, it's important to look at the psychological traits that may have driven Combs' actions. A narcissist is characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. As Combs' career grew, so too did his belief in his own untouchability. They often seek validation through control, and in Combs' case, that control seemed to extend to the women in his life. Sean Combs began his career in the 1990s as an intern at Uptown Records, quickly working his way up the ranks and eventually founding his own label, Bad Boy Records. By the mid-1990s, Combs had cemented himself as a major force in the music industry, launching the careers of several iconic artists like the notorious B.I.G., Faith Evans, and Mace. His work as a producer, rapper, and businessman helped shape the sound of hip-hop in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Combs cultivated a public image of extravagance, success, and unshakable confidence. Known for his elaborate parties and ostentatious displays of wealth, Puff Daddy became a larger-than-life figure whose persona was synonymous with excess. As his empire expanded, so too did his influence over the people around him, particularly women. The music mogul's success, however, masked a much darker side, one where power, control, and narcissism intersected to create a toxic environment for those under his influence. Over the years, several artists signed to P. Diddy's Bad Boy Records have come forward with accusations of being financially exploited, alleging that they were underpaid or not paid at all for their contributions. These complaints often revolve around unfair contracts, lack of transparency, and Combs allegedly taking a significant portion of their earnings. One of the most well-known disputes came from the rap group The Lox. Signed to Bad Boy Records in the late 1990s, they later accused Puff Daddy of withholding royalties and locking them into restrictive contracts. Maze, one of Puff Daddy's most successful protégés, has also been vocal about financial disputes. In 2020, he publicly accused Combs of offering him just $20,000 for his publishing rights early in his career, a deal that Mace later realized was exploitative. The girl group Danity Kane, created through the reality TV show Making the Band, also raised concerns about financial treatment. Despite their initial success, including platinum-selling albums, the group disbanded amid reports of internal conflict and poor management. Members have hinted at being misled financially, with Aubrey O'Day later stating that they were underpaid and exploited. From a psychological perspective, Puff Daddy's behavior can be linked to narcissistic and opportunistic traits, often seen in figures who rise to the top of highly competitive industries. The desire to maintain control over his artists' careers, from creative input to financial rewards, is emblematic of a need to sustain dominance. His hands-on involvement in every aspect of the business, while praised in some contexts, can also be viewed as part of a larger pattern of manipulation and control. Additionally, some artists have hinted that the culture within Bad Boy Records was one of fear and pressure, where speaking out or challenging Diddy's authority could lead to career sabotage or blacklisting. This power imbalance, combined with the allure of fame, often trapped artists in a system where they felt they had no choice but to accept whatever financial terms were given. Combs exhibited many classic traits of narcissism. such as grandiosity and entitlement. He projected an image of confidence and superiority, but beneath this exterior lay a man who viewed others as tools to fulfill his desires. Women, particularly those with less power and influence, were treated as commodities in his world. His relationships became entangled with his need to assert dominance, and his belief in his exceptionalism likely led him to believe he could act with impunity. One of the most disturbing aspects of Puff Daddy's alleged behavior centers around his relationship with singer Cassie Ventura. Discovered by Combs when she was just beginning her career, Cassie quickly became enmeshed in a deeply imbalanced power dynamic. For more than a decade, she remained in a relationship with Combs, during which time she has since alleged enduring emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. The psychological dynamics at play in their relationship are typical of coercive control. Combs allegedly isolated Cassie from her friends and support network, keeping her dependent on him both professionally and personally. He reportedly manipulated her through a cycle of affection and aggression, making it difficult for her to break free. This manipulation extended beyond emotional control. In a lawsuit filed in 2023, Cassie accused Combs of subjecting her to physical violence, as well as coercing her into sexual acts, some of which he filmed to further assert his dominance. The recordings, Cassie claimed, were used as tools of psychological blackmail, a classic example of how abusers use power and control to keep their victims trapped. One such incident, which is highly disturbing, reportedly shows Diddy violently assaulting Cassie. In the video, Diddy, seen wearing a towel, strikes Cassie, causing her to fall to the ground. Afterward, he appears to kick her twice from behind before attempting to drag her away from the elevator bank. Later in the footage, Diddy seems to shove Cassie into a corner and throw an object in her direction. In her lawsuit, Cassie described the incident, where she alleges Combs punched her, leaving her with a black eye. According to her account, after he fell asleep and she tried to leave, Combs became violent again, following her into the hallway, yelling and throwing glass vases at her as she fled to the elevator. Cassie initially returned, planning to apologize, but hotel staff advised her to leave, implying they had witnessed the security footage of Combs attacking her and throwing glass. The suit also claims that Combs paid $50,000 to the hotel to retrieve the footage of this hallway incident. As more allegations against Combs have surfaced, his predatory behavior has come into sharper focus. Recently, he has been charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and related offenses. According to the charges, these activities spanned over a decade and involved orchestrating elaborate events, referred to as freak-offs, in which women were coerced into performing sexual acts. Combs allegedly used physical force, financial manipulation, and threats of violence to control his victims. The freak-off parties were described as private events where women were allegedly drugged, coerced, or forced into degrading sexual acts in front of an audience. Some women claim they were invited to these parties under the guise of business opportunities, modeling gigs, or simply to network with powerful individuals in the entertainment industry. However, upon arrival, the reality was starkly different. The women were reportedly subjected to extreme forms of sexual exploitation, where they had little to no autonomy. The power dynamics at play in the freak-off parties are critical to understanding the psychological motivations behind these alleged events. Narcissistic individuals, particularly those in positions of extreme power, often seek to exert dominance over others to satisfy their own desires for control and validation. The parties gave Combs a platform where he could wield ultimate control over vulnerable women, reinforcing his sense of superiority and entitlement. According to the allegations, the freak-off parties were rife with manipulation tactics. Combs allegedly used his status, wealth, and influence to convince women that attending these events could benefit their careers. Once they arrived, however, they were faced with a starkly different reality. Drugs and alcohol were reportedly used to diminish the participants' ability to resist or even fully comprehend the situation, another hallmark of narcissistic and predatory behavior. This coercive dynamic was crucial in keeping women compliant, ensuring that Combs maintained control over their actions and their silence afterward. Combs' immense wealth combined with his status as a global celebrity, afforded him a layer of protection. He likely believed that his money could buy silence, whether through legal settlements or intimidation. His fame also acted as a shield, as victims of high-profile individuals often face significant barriers in coming forward, fearing not only retaliation but also public disbelief and scrutiny. Over the years, Combs allegedly cultivated an entire system to exploit vulnerable women, including his use of enablers, such as assistants and associates, who facilitated the events and ensured that participants remained compliant. This level of organization speaks to a deeply ingrained pattern of abuse that was designed to avoid detection and legal consequences. By using his power to create a network of enablers, Combs insulated himself from the consequences of his actions. The accusations surrounding Puff Daddy's freak-off parties paint a picture of systematic abuse, control, and manipulation. These allegations fit a broader pattern of narcissistic behavior, where power is used not only to exploit, but also to dominate and dehumanize. The psychological profile of someone like Combs, a man driven by a need for control, superiority, and validation, explains why such predatory behavior persisted for years and why he may have believed he could get away with it. Narcissistic abusers like Combs often feel entitled to whatever they desire, whether it's attention, sex, or submission. The lack of empathy characteristic of narcissism makes it easy for such individuals to justify their actions, as they do not fully recognize or care about the harm they cause. In Combs' case, the wealth and power he amassed only magnified these traits, enabling him to act without fear of retribution. His alleged use of coercion, including physical threats and blackmail, reveals a pattern of behavior designed to reinforce his sense of superiority. Combs likely saw himself as invincible, a belief that may have been reinforced by his decades of success and influence. Narcissists often believe they are above the rules that govern others, a mindset that allows them to justify increasingly dangerous and destructive behavior. One of the most disturbing aspects of the allegations against Combs is how long they went unchecked. For over a decade, he allegedly engaged in these behaviors with little interference, protected by a system that rewarded his success and shielded him from accountability. The entertainment industry is notorious for creating environments where powerful men can exploit vulnerable individuals, and Combs may have thrived in this culture of silence. As more victims come forward and the legal proceedings against Diddy unfold, the world is beginning to see the extent of the damage caused by his alleged narcissistic and predatory behavior. His story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the devastating effects of coercive control. It also serves as a reminder of the importance of listening to survivors and holding even the most powerful figures accountable for their actions. The rise and fall of Puff Daddy is not just a story of fame and fortune, it is a story of manipulation, control, and the dark side of celebrity culture. While the courts will decide his fate, the psychological patterns that defined his relationships offer crucial insights into the mindset of a man who believed he was untouchable.